So, is nursing school really that hard? Yes. Si, we, da. I don't know how to say yes in any other language, but yes, it's hard. It's very hard, challenging. It's all of that and above. You feel me? It is. And don't let anybody tell you it's not, okay? YouTube, I am your fave nurse B, and today we're going to talk about what makes nursing school so hard. So you always hear people talking about, oh my gosh, nursing school is so hard, it's so hard. It's like every week is finals week. It's just, I can't take it, it's too much, it's demanding, I had to drop out, blah, 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 blah. Like, I just feel like I was dying every time I went to class. So this is my theory of why they make nursing school so hard, why it seems hard for people. So number one, it's like survival of the fittest, because it's like somewhat impossible, the amount of reading and retaining of information that they expect you to do in such a short amount of time. It's like they want to make sure that you can deal with the pressure of juggling everything and trying to comprehend information as quickly as possible and be a critical thinker. And I guess they figure, like, if you can't do it in nursing school, then you won't be able to do it as a nurse. So that's why they make it so hard for you, I guess. And then I was talking to my husband about it, and he was like, probably the reason why it's so hard, or the reason why it feels kind of rushed, is because they need nurses bad. So they have to rush you through the program so they can get nurses out there in the field. And I thought about it, I was like, you know what, that does make sense, because nursing shortage is real, baby. It's like, it's a shortage. Where y'all at? We need y'all. So it's survival of the fittest. It's like they're trying to weed out the weak people. Or the people, not weak, I'm not, just because if you don't finish nursing school doesn't mean you're weak, but they're trying to weed out certain people in order to make sure that they have the strongest nurses at the end of the program. So that's that. Also is another reason why I think it's hard, is because when you are in nursing school, it's not like other classes, like a history class or psychology or something like that, or English, where you can kind of learn the information just to take a test. Like, no, you have to learn it to understand it, and not just to memorize it, but you have to actually understand the concept behind it, not just that this and this equal this, or this and this can lead to this, but how can it lead to that? And when you have this added on top of that, how is it gonna create more issues for your patient, and this and that? It's like you have to understand the whole, like it's a concept, and it really, that's how you have to think in nursing, is that it's a conceptual science, and it's not just a piece here, a piece there. It's like an all overall thing that you have to understand. And then with nursing, everything builds on each other. So if you don't get it, like if you take A&P and you learn about like the GI system, and you learn about the pancreas and insulin and your cells and all this good stuff, and you don't really get it too much in that class in A&P, when you go over to med surg, it's going to come up again when you learn about diabetes. And then if you don't get it then, it's going to come up again in clinicals when you have diabetic patients. And it's going to come up again in another class when you're talking about, say you're talking about like vascular diseases, and how you're going to realize how diabetes plays into different vascular diseases. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it just all is so connected, because the human body is so connected. Everything, if one thing is off, it affects the whole system. So that's why with nursing it becomes kind of hard to grasp and to understand, or hard to kind of keep up sometimes, is because everything builds upon itself. And if there's a part in there that you don't understand, it's going to be really hard for you to go to that next level. But the good thing about it is, sometimes if you didn't get it in that one class, probably the next time that it comes up in a different way, you'll understand it, because it might be a different teacher explaining it, or it's more applied. So You learn about it in A&P. You learn about the pancreas in A&P, but you really can't grasp it, or you really might not grasp it because it's like, okay, it's the pancreas. Like, you're not applying it to anything. But then when you learn about diabetes and you realize how the pancreas plays in diabetes as far as insulin production, then you're like, oh, okay. And then you think about the disease and the disease process of diabetes type 1 and type 2 and all these different things that happen throughout those two different diseases. Then you're like, okay, I understand how the pancreas works, because now I understand the disease that happens or occurs when it doesn't work. And so that's a good thing about it. But sometimes if you still don't get it, it's going to be hard for you to get it. Like, it builds upon itself, and it's like you have to make sure that you really understand these concepts as you're going, or grasping some type of information. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for you to get through it. Another thing with nursing school is it's time consuming. It takes up a lot of time because you have to learn about the body system. You have to know how the body system works, the anatomy of the body system. You have to understand diseases, medications, the side effects of those medications. You have to understand nursing interventions, things that you can do as a nurse without a doctor's order that can help your patient right then and there. You have to think about just so much stuff. You had to think about other diseases that your patients have and how those diseases affect the disease that you're looking at primarily, that you're being presented with primarily. You have to think about your interactions with physicians and other healthcare professionals. It just takes up a lot of your time, especially just learning all these different freaking drugs and learning all their side effects and learning all these diseases. And as far as the diseases, you have to learn like the treatments for those and the procedures and surgeries and all the different precautions you have to take as a nurse. If you say you had a patient who had a CVA or a stroke, you would have to learn all the different precautions and different things you have to be aware of. Okay, they might have issues chewing on one side, they might have, which could lead to them, if they can't really chew on one side, it's going to lead to them having issues swallowing. If they have issues swallowing, they might have aspiration, meaning that their food might go into their lungs. If their food goes into their lungs, they might get pneumonia. If they get pneumonia, then they have infection. If they have infection, okay, I also got to think my patient is not eating as well. They might not be eating as much, so they're losing weight. If they're losing weight, then they also might be, their skin might be compromised. So they might create a wound. If they have a wound, do they have diabetes? It's going to be hard for them to heal from this wound with diabetes. And it's like all these different things you have to think about in nursing as a nursing student that you're going to have to apply as a nurse. So that's one thing I can definitely say. What they teach you in nursing school, you're going to come across it as a nurse. It's not like other classes or other disciplines where you feel like I'm never going to deal with this again. Like, it's a career. All this stuff is going to come up. So you have to like really understand it. And the teachers like make you they're trying to tell you like you have to understand this. You're going to be somebody's nurse. You're going to be having to have somebody's life, in your care. And that also makes it hard because you have to learn how to protect another human being, how to care for them, how to be able to see certain signs and symptoms. You have to be ahead of the game. And they're trying to teach you this in nursing school without you really even having the pressure of being a nurse. So it's kind of hard trying to teach somebody how to do it and they don't even have the responsibility behind having to do it. If you get what I'm saying, I'm trying to teach you, I don't know if you would be like a firefighter or something. I'm trying to teach you just with books how to be a firefighter. But at the end of the day, until you're in a fire and there's somebody over there you got to protect and save, you're not going to understand it. It's not going to come to you. And I guess that's where nursing clinicals come in. But even with clinicals, you have one patient, maybe two. When you're a nurse, I have 25 plus patients as a nurse. Sometimes you have 50 patients as a nurse. Sometimes, you might just only have 8 patients, but those are very critical, acute patients that you have. So it's hard because they're trying to show you what you have to understand in such a short amount of time. And they're also trying to show you what you need to understand and make it hard for you because it's going to be hard. But they can't make it as hard as it's going to be because it's not a real life situation. You're not really caring for this. You're not really responsible for all these people. So I think that's what makes nursing school hard. And another thing is what they teach you in nursing school and what you're going to learn is you have to be flexible. So one thing I noticed is like a lot of nursing programs, like even if they've been around forever, it seems like they're always changing, whether they're changing administration or they're changing teachers or they're changing the structure of their program, changing their clinical sites. Like, it seems like nursing schools are always changing. And I realized this just by talking to people and just my experience. Like, we went through so many different teachers and clinical sites, and it was times we didn't have a teacher. It was time we couldn't go to our clinical site, like, and we had to go back to the lab and try to do stuff at the lab. Like, it teaches you flexibility, and sometimes it's very hard for people to grasp that, to not have that specific structure or to not be able to deal or, you know, learn from the teachers that you want to learn from, or you're with the teacher for a program or a class and that teacher quits in the middle of the program or gets fired or gets sick, and you're kind of just like, what? What we gonna do now? It becomes really hard, but they always say you have to be flexible, you have to be flexible. That's like their like default answer, but it's true. You in nursing, you have to be flexible, and in nursing school, you have to be flexible. And that can be really hard for some people. Like, they don't like change, or you already dealing with so much going on in your life. Like, the last thing you want to do is come into class and realize you don't have a med surg teacher. Like, we had that. The med surg teacher that we thought we were gonna have, we had her for med surg 1. Amazing, phenomenal teacher. She will change your life type of teacher. And we thought we were gonna have her for med surg 2. Come to find out, they moved her from our section and moved her to the other campus because she was so good. They was like, you all are doing great at this campus, but this other campus is not as strong as we need them to be. So they plucked her out and threw her at the other campus. And so we had to deal with a teacher who didn't even teach med surg. She was still a good teacher, but she never taught med surg. She was an A&P teacher. So I think she did a great job of teaching it based off the fact that I think it was just kind of thrown at her. And she never had taught it before, and plus she was a young nurse, and I don't really think that she really worked that long as a nurse. She was young, probably in her early 30s. But with that being said, you got to get what you got to get out of it. So that's just my little spin on why I think nursing school is hard. But needless to say, anybody can do it if they really, really want to do it. You can become a nurse. I'm here to help you all with as much advice or information that I can based off of my little humble understanding of nursing. If you have any questions or ideas or anything that you want me to bring up, let me know in the comment section. I do have a second channel, Stay Forever True. It's more of a lifestyle channel. I talk about my pregnancy, and I do hair videos and like health videos, that type of thing. So if you want to check that out, also follow me on Instagram. Thank you all for supporting my channel. Peace.